multifamily mindset.
Podcast. Think bigger.
Welcome back, everyone, to this episode of the Multifamily Minute. I'm your host, Kyle Brown, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most important skills that every single person needs, and that's knowing when to walk away from a deal. Look, we all want to close deals, but it's extremely easy to get emotionally attached, especially when you've spent weeks and weeks underwriting, touring properties, negotiating with sellers. But we've got to realize not every deal is the right deal. So today I'm breaking down the biggest red flags that make you hit the brakes, common mistakes that people will make when they try to force bad deals, and then how to separate fear from real risks so you can make smart decisions. So with that, let's just get right into it. Well, why does anybody force bad deals? The problem is that tons of investors, especially some newer ones, feel pressured to get their first deal done at any cost. Like they think, if I don't take this deal, I might not find another one, or I've already put so much work in, I can't back out now, or even something like the seller's pressuring me, I'll just make it work. But here's the truth. One bad deal can set you back years, so it's better to wait for a great deal than to force a bad one. I like to mention this in underwriting is, as a role as an underwriter, our job is going to be to make sure the deal doesn't work. Right? And it might sound funny, but look, I don't want to force a deal to try and work under very specific and, extraordinary circumstances. So take your time, look at the data, don't force anything. Now let's take a look at some red flags. These to me seem a little bit obvious, but I definitely want to take the time to share it with you guys. One, the numbers don't work, no matter how you quote unquote adjust them. Right, if you keep on tweaking your underwriting to make the deal look good, that's a problem. That's what goes back to what I just said. For example, like if you're lowering your expenses unrealistically and assuming rent growth that isn't there, overestimating appreciation even, just take a minute to think about what you're doing. If the deal does not cash flow today and your only hope is future appreciation, you are speculating and not investing. One thing that reminds me of is, a deal that I looked at, maybe near a year ago now. We had taken a look through the numbers and we saw that the original person who had underwritten the deal was assuming that the payroll costs would go down. However, they wanted to keep the same property management company there. You can't just go nicely and ask somebody, hey, can I lower your wages for no reason? And actually, we're going to be doing some CapEx to the property and we're not going to pay you anymore. That's not realistic, right? So keep that in mind. Two, the seller could be hiding something. So in some cases, the seller will not provide financials, rent rolls, or, any sort of T12 or statements, or just maybe keeps on delaying them. That's a major red flag, right? Like if you ask for maintenance records and then suddenly you're not really getting many responses or they're dodging you a little bit, like that could be a clue that something's wrong. If they want to sell the property, they'd be willing to give you over the information. If they're trying to hide something because they know there's an issue there, maybe you might just want to walk away if there's no transparency. Another red flag is that when you're under inspection, your due diligence period, or even just doing your first initial walk on the property tour, you might uncover some big issue. So small issues, normal, but major, and what I mean by major is like foundation problems or outdated electrical and plumbing, or maybe some hidden structural damage, that's going to be a deal breaker unless the price adjusts. Then we have 4, when your financing falls apart. You can do the underwriting on a property. You might think it looks good, but the lenders have their own underwriting. And if a lender starts backing away or offering much worse terms than expected, pay attention. If you assume that you'd get 75% LTV and then the lender only offers you about 60, that'll probably kill your returns. So if your financing now becomes too risky or expensive, that also might mean that it's time to walk. And then finally, you might just have a bad gut feeling. And sometimes your gut tells you what logic won't. And if something feels off, don't ignore it. Look, it could be something like maybe a partner just doesn't seem like they've done their due diligence, Maybe they seem a little bit shady. Maybe the deal has too many moving parts, or maybe the seller's way too eager to offload it. Like, just do not force yourself to love a deal, right? If you force yourself to love a deal, that's a huge red flag. Any problems that you see, bring that to your team, talk through it together. Then what you also want to look at before I move on from this is just you want to understand how to walk away from the deal the right way. So there's a couple different stances where you have this. Like, remember, we have to stay professional in this space. I don't want you to just ghost anybody and potentially burn relationships. Now, if you haven't submitted an LOI, like, you can just stop pursuing it, and you don't really have to have an explanation that's needed. Definitely let the broker know if you have been in contact with them. Now, if you have submitted an LOI, maybe you're in due diligence, use contingencies like financing, inspections, etc., like to back out politely but firmly. And then for some of you guys, if you have earnest money at risk, try to negotiate a return. But if you have to avoid losing a lot, just do it, right? You might just have to lose some of that earnest money, but it's going to be a lot better than you failing on a deal, right? A lost earnest money deposit is nothing compared to getting stuck in a bad deal for years and years to come. At the end of the day, the best investors do not just chase deals, they chase the right ones. So, if any of you guys have ever walked away from a deal, would love to hear from you. What made you stop? Definitely let us know. Reach out. But that's all we had for today. Appreciate you guys for jumping on this one. Catch you in the next one.
Multifamily Mindset.
Podcast. Think bigger.